Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Ascension Healing Fellowship. We've just got Pastor Bob right here in the wings, so I'm getting myself together here as we bring him in. There you go, Pastor Bob.
Getting some good morning coffee over there, huh? Getting
Yes,
some
sir.
Good coffee over there. Okay.
Absolutely.
I always have to remind myself the difference in the time frame. And you're outside today. That's really beautiful. That's nice. Is that the outside of the yurt?
I'm actually inside, but I just closed the windows, so now we have some decent lighting in here. I'm still working on it. I have a ring light yet to get, but
nice.
After that, we'll be in a much better position.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, I always have to remind myself the difference in the time between East Coast and West Coast. So yeah, that's kind of important.
And how's your weekend been so far, Pastor Bob? There's been a lot of things going on.
Yeah, it's been rather exciting. So it's a great day to grow faith, and it's getting some great faith growing opportunities. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, because I think that so many times we look at things just with purely human eyes and just with purely human context. And keep in mind that everything that we can see around us, everything that is part of our environment, is all stuff that's passing away. And I think so many times we grasp onto that, and that's where our pain is. We grasp onto a traumatic experience. And the divine, in the perfect Father that the divine is, the perfect creator that the divine is, created ways for us to deal with that past trauma and that past pain. Some of that are things that we do at Ascension Healing Fellowship, some rituals and some ceremonies that we do. Some of that is meditation, but it's all about the same kind of thing. We're going to talk about that today. So what I'd really like to do is go into a meditation that's just going to kind of calm our souls and just kind of get us into a still place. And while we do that, we're going to hear some beautiful music, but I'm going to encourage you in this meditation, because this meditation is called a breath meditation. It's strictly about the breath. And all we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for a count of 3, hold for a count of 3, and the first time we're going to breathe out for a count of 4. And then the second time, same thing, breathe in for 3, hold for 3, but this time breathe out for 5. And then the next time we'll breathe out for 6 with the same intake, and then 7. And then we'll go back to 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so we want to do this a couple of times. What I really want you to do, if you would, is just really recognize if your shoulders are feeling more relaxed, and think about the stress that you carry in your face and your shoulders, and see if on the out breath, if you can just see that stress and that tension going out with that out breath. Because I think that that's crucial. We really got to get that, Jennifer. We really got to feel the idea that we're relaxing and that we're beginning to come into the kingdom. We're already in the kingdom, but sometimes we just don't realize it. And so sometimes we just got to get the stress out to get there. So I'd like us to do that if we could. And I understand you've got some music this week that we're going to play while we're doing that, right?
Yes. Are you able to hear this? Let me know. You can't hear that yet?
My ears are not so good, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
It sounds really light, really in the background. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But that's okay. We can figure that out. Because I'm going to be counting anyway.
Can you hear this one?
Encouraging some relaxation, so we'll get it. Cool. All right. Cool. Well, here's what we're going to do. So remember, we're going to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and then I let go through my mouth, and then I just feel my shoulders just drop. And the tension that most people carry is in their shoulders and in this area right here, in your traps. That's where most people's tension is. In fact, when my mom was still alive, she used to have to go in and get medical massages just because she had so much tension and so much stress in that area. So That's what we're going to do because I want us to kind of relax into the message and into the fellowship that we're going to have today. Okay. So hopefully we can get the music running. If not, then that's okay, because that's a divine gift too, and we're just going to roll with it. That's the best thing you can do in life, is just learn those 3 simple words. Roll with it. So here we go. You ready? If you feel like closing your eyes, that's fine. If you need to keep your eyes open, or you feel like you need to be more alert, that's fine. But just recognize when you blow out, letting that tension out, and see if, as we process through this, maybe you do feel better and okay about closing your eyes. Okay? So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and hold. 1, 2, 3. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and hold. 1, 2, 3. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and hold for 1, 2, 3, and release for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, and hold for 1, 2, 3. Remember to let the stress out and let go for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3. Breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, and hold for 1, 2, 3. Breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, and hold for 1, 2, 3. Breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How does that feel? Hopefully you're a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calm, a little bit more still in the soul. And hopefully we're going to get some music going and everything for next week, or maybe even later this week. If we can get everything ironed out, that's okay too. But the main thing is, what I really want you guys to get from this is what's called breath work. And for me, one of the best things that I've done is to get on YouTube and type in breath work. Did this many years ago, and I've actually done some breath work with some pretty amazing people all over the world. And breath work on YouTube is phenomenal. Just the different teachers, the different avenues, the different systems, and the different ways that they go about that healing breath is absolutely, bar none, really, really, really a core point. And I think as you take a look at some of the ceremonies and some of the sacraments that we will be doing in Ascension Healing Fellowship, you're going to see how important it is to come back to that breath and to be solid in that. Remember, the breath is your ally, and it is the very first gift, the perfect gift from the divine. So we want to talk about that today, and I want to talk about that in the concept of Father's Day. And to kind of introduce this, I've got a little story. There was once an atheist, very strong atheist, very dogmatic atheist, had no concept whatsoever, didn't even believe a God, anything else. And he was going through the jungle, and all of a sudden he heard something behind him, and he could tell that there were 4 very large paws hitting the ground behind him. So he began to move a little faster, and the paws began to move a little faster, and then he began to run even faster and faster, and the paws began to run faster and faster until he fell into a hole. It was a tiger trap, and he fell into this hole, and up above him was the largest Bengal tiger he had ever seen in his life. And as he was there and he was in his knees, up to his knees in mud, he said, well, what the hell, I'm gonna try this prayer thing. So he said, if there's anybody up there, okay, God, please help me, please save me. And the voice came back in a very loud and audible way, have faith, this won't hurt very much, it'll be over soon. And the atheist thought for a minute, and he goes, is there anyone else up there? And I tell that story because, number one, I really like it. It was pretty humorous, but at the same time, it really is relatable to how we act towards a divine being, how we act towards our life, how we act towards the trauma that we've had, or the things that are inside of us that just won't go away, or those voices inside of us that just keep banging and clanging and making noise, or the tension that we carry in our shoulders and in our traps. That's how we react to it. We see this and we think, is there anybody else up there? And the bottom line is, there's only one, and we're all part of that one. And the bottom line is, you're going to have to go through some of this. You're going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to dig through your own shit pile, if you will. And it is a shit pile. And there's nothing you can do about that except to realize that. And instead of seeing it as what it is, you see it as fertilizer. There's a reason why the #1 fertilizer in the world is still manure. It's still waste product from animals and from humans. There's a reason for that. There's a message from the divine in that. And here's the simple message. The simple message is this: manure is fertilizer, and the manure that's within you is fertilizer for your soul. It's just that simple. That fertilizer for your soul is how you heal. You have trauma, so that maybe you will do breath work. Maybe you'll do Bufo. Maybe you'll do mushroom. Maybe you'll do whatever you've got to do, but you will take a journey. You were never meant to sit on your backside and not let your soul journey. Your soul was never meant to not grow. And in line with that, we're going to have a Happy Father's Day message. I've got several passages that we're going to go over today. And if you can't look them all up, that's fine, because I'm going to read them to you anyway. But I want to start with this one in Matthew 7:11. Matthew 7 and verse 11. And I find that kind of interesting because 7:11, but that's another story. Okay, so if you then who are evil, and I'm going to talk about that word here in a minute. If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? So I want to cover 2 things with this passage. Well, actually 3. Number 1, evil. The term evil there does not mean evil as we would think of it. Remember that there are certain concepts that change generationally. The same one that we see as God certainly isn't the one that the Pilgrims came across the ocean on. It certainly wasn't the one that the Native Americans had in the Great Spirit. It was none of that. It was none of that. It is a totally 21st century modern God that we follow. Because this concept of God, in order for man to fit into it, has to change. Unless we say that the divine is perfect love. When we say the divine is perfect love and all these gifts are perfect, then we accept whatever comes our way. And that's a different story. That's essentially what we're about at this fellowship. At Ascension Healing Fellowship, we're about saying this is a perfect gift. Just like Bufo is a perfect gift, just like our trauma is a perfect gift, just like whatever process and whatever road you have to go down, it is a perfect gift. Because it came to you from the divine. And just like that atheist in that tiger pit, sometimes that looks like a really sucky gift. But it's all given to you in a way that will help your soul grow. So when people start saying, oh my God, he's punishing. No, he's not. This is a perfect gift. It might look in human terms like it sucks. And if we were going to attach a label to it, we'd go, that's a sucky gift. That's the worst gift I've ever got. Can you take that back? Where's the receipt? But that gift was given to you so you would grow. It's really that simple. That's the first thing I wanted to say about this one passage. The second thing I wanted to say about this passage is this. When we talk about the concept of father, that's not necessarily a male patriarchal figure up on a throne that is like, throwing lightning bolts down like Zeus. We have this mixture in the Western mythology of who God is, of part Greek and part Jew and part Christ, and we've got all of this mixture in there. And so as a result, we get a very schizophrenic God, if you will, a very schizophrenic divine being. And the divine isn't schizophrenic. The divine's perfect love. And the more we have faith in that, the more we grow faith in that, the more we rest in that, the better our life is. The less we rest in it, the more our life sucks. It really is that simple. And the beautiful thing about every good and perfect gift is that as long as your life sucks, your life's going to suck even harder because the divine is trying to get your attention to where you'll move away from the suck. One of my favorite t-shirts that I have is a military t-shirt that just says, embrace the suck. Embrace it. Recognize it for what it is. Maybe that trauma that you have is something that you can heal from through Ascension Healing Fellowship or through some means. And because you heal from it, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be able to help someone else. You're going to be able to help someone see the divine path to healing. That's where I was at. That's where I was at. 27, 28 years old. I'm in my second psychiatric ward, locked down. Second one in 2 years. And I was stuck. Oh yeah, I'd been in the military. I was a big tough. Yeah, man, I was a bad, Bobby Badass kind of guy, but that's where I was at. God, that was a horrible gift. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because that gift came from perfect love, and that's what created who I am today. And if I would not have had that gift, I never would have seen perfect love in the format that I see it now. Never would have seen perfect love in that form. So, just putting that out there. So I want you guys to kind of be at ease and be at peace with that. The second passage that I want to read is James 1:17. And here's James 1:17. Every good gift and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Wow. Wow, that's a meaty bone. Every good and perfect gift, and it's all good and perfect, and it comes down from above, and there is no variation, there is no shadow. It is all light and all perfect love. Think about that. What rest does that give you? What peace does that give you? It's funny because I hear so many people go, well, I just don't get this whole peace that passes all understanding thing, because I sure don't have it. Of course you don't have it. because you still think there's this divine being who's ready to punish you and send you to an eternal lake of fire. That sucks. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat that. That's a really shitty gift. But again, everything is a good and perfect gift when you see it for what it is. And if you can't see it for what it is at that exact moment, that's okay. Get back to your breath work. Just get back to your breath work. Get back to a still, silent place. There's a great passage in the Bible that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Think on that for a minute. Be still. I'll tell you when I can be still. I can be still about 2 o'clock in the morning in my office. Not a soul awake except this new kitten that just showed up on our back porch. That's another story. But there's nothing awake. There's nothing that's moving. It's just stillness, quiet, peace, beauty. And that's when it's the easiest to hear. Now, another thing you need to consider is if you want to hear it clearer, be careful of what your diet is in what you're listening to and what you're watching. Be careful of that. And we'll talk more about that in later services. But let's talk about this word, gift. Can an impure mind conceive perfect? Remember, evil doesn't mean like Chairman Z or whatever his title is. It doesn't mean like Hitler. It doesn't mean like Mao or Pol Pot or King Leopold or whatever. It doesn't mean any of that. What evil means in a biblical context is all of our minds are evil. Now, again, evil has a different connotation. I'm not trying to say, oh, you're an evil person. I'm trying to say that you want something that tastes better. You want something that's more. You want something that's bigger, better. And guys are the worst on this, okay? Guys are the worst on this. Trust me. This is why pornography is so aimed at guys. Because you've got a beautiful being next to you that you love, and yet here's this being that's probably not even real anymore. Most of that's AI created or in some way enhanced, and you're looking at that and you're thinking, I want more, when you already have all you need. It's the same battle that Eve and Adam faced in the garden. They wanted more. That's an evil mind. That's an impure mind. So let's look at the ways that perfect is talked about. Perfect love. Can I comprehend that? Again, I've got an evil mind. We all do. An impure mind. Let me put impure mind. That's what I've got. I've got an impure mind. I'm just going to say it, you know. I'm just going to say it. You know, so perfect sacrifice. Now, a lot of people get wrapped up around the axle on, oh, well, Jesus came and died, so now God loves me. That wasn't the point of Jesus coming and dying. And so I kind of want to hammer in on that. Okay? As long as we believe Jesus had to die for God to accept us, we have a transactional God. And that is the root cause of religious pain. Now we're saying that there's a transaction that had to be made. In order for God to love me, his son had to die. What if we were to say it this way? What Jesus came to do is to bring the good news, which is all are loved by the divine, who is perfect love. All are one, and they, the divine, will sacrifice everything to prove that. Do you know how many times Jesus preached about hell? 0. He preached about a trash dump that was right outside the walls, right outside the city gate of Jerusalem. Do you know how many times Paul talked about it? Eternal punishment. 0. That's it. That's it. So I want you to think on that. I want you to really rest in that and think on that, because that has a whole lot to do with where we're at with regards to society and the world. Another way that perfect is mentioned is be perfect as your Father is perfect. Jesus was not perfect legally. I hate to burst your bubble, but he wasn't. He broke Sabbath. We know that. He was accused of being a drunkard and a glutton in a society where if you made accusations about someone without proof, you would be thrown into prison. And oh, by the way, from his very birth, he was born impure. Born of a virgin, born on the run. He was born a refugee. He was born a refugee. Jesus was not pure and was not perfect legally, but what transformed him and what made him a perfect sacrifice was the fact that he came to reconcile who he was, and he was solid in that. Remember, Jesus was tempted to forget who he was. If you are the Son of God, 40 days in the desert. Then he was tempted with power, prosperity, and possessions. And all of these he turned down. Why? Because he knew he didn't need more. He knew he was loved in the perfect love sense. He didn't need any more. Perfect love had him embraced, and he knew it. He rested in it. He believed it. He firmly had faith in that embrace. Were there times when he doubted it? Yes, there were. But he was constantly growing in faith, like hopefully we all are. And hopefully we all get the opportunity to grow in faith more. I know I'm getting that opportunity right as we speak. So a couple more passages. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. This is one more thing I wanted to point out about perfect. Perfect has a very different meaning. In Hebrew, the term perfect is where the root word of perfect comes from the word completeness. Perfect means completeness. So my question to you is, when will your life be complete? When will your life be complete? Something to consider. In the Greek, it meant fully developed. The root word for perfect in the Greek, because remember the Bible is kind of Hebrew Greek, it's mixed up, or at least the New Testament. So in Greek, it meant fully developed, having reached the end goal. Isn't that interesting? Fully developed. You're perfect. Being fully developed, having reached the end goal. The end goal. What's the end goal of life? What's the end? We're all going to pass away from this thing called flesh. We're all going to leave this earthly body. I don't care who you are, sooner or later, this is going to be just a bag of bones. Frankly, it won't even be a bag, actually. It'll just be bones, and sooner or later it'll be dust. So there you go. So when that end goal happens, when your completeness happens, you're going to be perfect as the Father is perfect. And until then, you're going to be dealing with the trauma, dealing with the pain, dealing with the hurt, dealing with the doubt. Dealing with the doubt. Remember, when Jesus appeared to the disciples, one of my favorite parts of that whole story was, of course, doubting Thomas. You know, he comes up and he goes, "Is that really you? Stick your finger in my side. Come on, stick your finger in my side. Come on. Stick your finger in my side." You know, and there's this moment where you got to know Jesus was like, yeah, one day you'll be made complete. And the reason why Jesus was resurrected was to show his disciples what it looks like to be made complete, which I find interesting because the first time that he appeared to the disciples at one location, the first words out of his mouth was, "Anybody got any fish?" I swear to you, read it. It's in there. He appears to the disciples in the upper room. Everybody's like, and he goes, hey, anybody got any of that fish? I really would like some. Because he didn't care about anything. When death is no longer a problem, when death is no longer an issue, you know you're connected to perfect love. You know you're perfect. You know the Father is perfect. So, 48. I want to read this right quick. Matthew 5, verse 48, and I won't dive in too deep to it. You therefore must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. You must be. Now, if I'm a religious, I'm looking at that going, well, there's no way. That's just not going to happen. I can't be God. Actually, you already are. You have divine DNA inside of you. Now, in this earthly, fleshly part, there's part of my mind that just wants more or just wants earthly safety, because I can see that. It's easy to say, oh, we're okay, when our bank account reads $100,000. When our bank account reads negative $45,000, it's a little bit more of a challenge. I know, ask me. And so the whole point to that is this. The whole point to that is being perfect as your Father is perfect means that you're going to get these wonderful gifts like your trauma, your pain, and all of these things that we've been talking about. And you're going to get pathways to go through that and to move through that, like Bufo, counseling, meditation, breath work. All of this are pathways to see a more perfect, divine, perfect love, and to rest in that perfect love, to have faith in that perfect love that you never thought was possible. Okay, I promise you one more passage, and then I'm going to be done with the passage. And this is in Hebrews. Did I lose my place? I did lose my place. This is in Hebrews 10:14. Hebrews 10:14. So let me just share this passage with you because it's a beautiful passage. Hebrews 10:14. For by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. Let that soak in. For by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. A perfect offering. One single offering. What was that offering? That offering was showing, the divine showing us that in that moment they were willing to say, I'm going to sacrifice my earthly life to show you that there's a perfect creation that you will become. I know it's a struggle right now. I know you're going to suffer right now. And that's okay. You know what's really interesting that I find in the resurrected Christ? Now remember, Christ was not Jesus' last name. Christ is what Jesus became upon resurrection. What I find interesting in the Christ is this. He didn't scold, he didn't shame, he didn't condemn a single person who afterwards said, no, this can't be the case. He never said anything negative to doubting Thomas. He never called Mary out for being scared. He never did any of this. He never did any of that because he understood. He knew. He got it. He knew we were weak because he had been weak and he transformed. So, but I love that passage. For by a single offering, he is perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. You're being sanctified. You're being sanctified right now. In sacrament, you're being sanctified. In ceremonies, in breath work, that sanctification process is growing, and it's growing, and it's growing. You're moving through what Richard Rohr says the first half of life, ego, into the spirit life. You're dropping the ego behind you, and you're moving into spirit life. And there's a really great video I watched of a famous boxer. I can't remember his name, but anyway, there's a famous boxer who did Bufo. And it's a great video because he talks about the first time he did it, he felt like his ego just totally left him. Like he could see beyond it. And whatever it takes for you to move beyond ego and move into spirit, it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. That's my belief. So, do we believe at Ascension Healing Fellowship that the message of Christ is, here's a pop test for you, and I want you to think on this week, okay? This is your assignment, but it's also a pop test. I'm going to give you two options here. Do we believe at Ascension Healing Fellowship that the message of Christ is, you are a screw up, and I came to make it so God could love you if you change? There's the first option. Why or why not do we believe that? And here's the second option. God, the divine, is perfect love, loves you exactly as you are, will never leave you or forsake you, and seeks for each of us to rest in believing this, because that's where peace passes all understanding. So my question to you is, do we believe one, or do we believe number two? And I'll try and type this up and put it on our Facebook page. But I want you to think about that this week. And here's why. As you think about it, think about the impact that has on your overall life. What impact does that have? Which one of those two beliefs brings you greater peace? Which one of those two beliefs brings you greater life, as in life abundant? Which one? I want you to think on that this week. I really do. And I want you to write down which one you think it is and why or why not. And then here's a bonus assignment. Think about which one you currently believe. Which one is currently in your mind? You see, as I've said before, I've got a little Bob inside of me. And whenever I feel that number one choice coming, oh, I kind of spoiled it there, but whenever I feel that number one choice coming up in my life, I stop whatever I'm doing and I say, little Bob, what do you need right now? What does little Bob need right now? You need a hug? Come here, buddy. Come here. And I will visually see little Bob getting up in my lap, and I'm just hugging him. I'm just hugging him. Because he had some trauma early in his life. He had some struggle early in his life. And I'll just be with him, and I'll sit with him for as long as I need to sit with him for him to feel better. And that's okay. That's okay. This is the journey, guys. This is the journey of the soul. And however you make that journey, my hope, my prayer, my earnest wish for you is just to make the journey, because otherwise it's going to suck. I've been by bedsides and I've been by people who were passing and dying who were at peace. Not many. And I've been by a lot of people who are not at peace, which is the majority of people who pass, because they don't ever come to one of these realizations. And your mission this week is to tell me which one of those two realizations and why or why not. And as a bonus, which one are you following and how does that affect you? Does that make sense? What do you think, Jennifer?
I think that sounds great. That's really thought-provoking, actually. Cool. I've been updating as you've been talking so that people who are just popping in can stay on topic.
Cool.
And awesome. I know you didn't hear the music earlier, but if you just give me 1 second, let me know if you can hear.
I can. Nice.
Okay. So cool. Yeah, I think that was really great sermon, Pastor Bob. There's a couple things in there that I'd like to pull out and expand upon. So thank you for all that.
Yes, please. Yeah, please feel free to expand upon it. Maybe even Wednesday night we could expand upon it and kind of dive into it. I think that too many times we see the path as a very structured approach. There's only one way. Jesus said there's only one way. Well, actually, he never said that. He said, I am the way. Follow me. But if you're going to follow me, it's a narrow road, a treacherous path, an uphill journey, and it's a struggle. and it's not a carpeted aisle and a padded pew. It's a struggle to see the soul, and sometimes that can take you down some very interesting paths.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a lot to think about, but we have guidance, and we have the guidance from Jesus, and we also have the guidance from you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we have Wednesday prayer meeting at, I think we're going to change the time so we can put that out on social media as to an update for the time. And then we'll start also putting out some social media to remind people of the Sunday service and of the Wednesday prayer meeting so that they're on alert and they can join in. And those are my announcements for right now. I think we're just moving right along with everything.
Cool. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. All right. Well, I look forward to hearing more, and I look forward to being a part of it. And well, by the way, I'm just going to say this because I don't think Jennifer. Well, we had a really great meeting last week of some people that are really helping to organize Ascension Healing Fellowship and really helping to organize this whole thing. And my hat's off, kudos to Jennifer because she organized this whole thing. And there's some really phenomenal things coming up. And so please, please, please plug in, get connected. And you know what? Ask how you can help. Ask how you can serve. Eventually, I'd love to see it to where we had some book study going on. We had some other things happening. But Jennifer can't do it all, nor can I. So we need some people who are like, yeah, step up to the plate. And
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
yeah, we have a great team. Good things are coming down the pike.
Heck yeah, absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. We'll get our end scene going on, and everybody have a wonderful Sunday and enjoy your week coming up.
And happy Father's Day.
Absolutely. Happy Father's Day.